paradigmatic people. They have a paradigm. They say, this is the way the world works, and I'm convinced this is the right way the world works, so I don't need to look at the evidence. It's paradigmatic. And then there are wishful thinkers. I call it wishful and fearful thinking. So they simply will not believe something that they fear to be the truth. You're telling me that's not true. That is frightening. I simply refuse to believe it. I will not listen to any more evidence, whatever it is.
Republicans tend to respond more negatively to dissonance and try harder to avoid dissonance-causing situations, only following things they already agree with and never hearing counter-arguments. The more people become involved in politics, the more they avoid dissonance, because they think they know what their beliefs are already and they don't need any new opinions. People viewing a political party as part of their identity leads to a higher avoidance of dissonance because opposing views would become a personal attack on their character.
You can't refute, but also can't accept. That's the trigger for cognitive dissonance.
It's confronted by new information that conflicts with existing beliefs, ideas, or values. Your brain takes steps to avoid the stress caused by dissonance because your brain cares more about harmony than what, in fact, may be the truth. Your brain has a way to compensate for this. It copes with the unpleasant sensation of dissonance in a number of ways. The first coping mechanism is called selective distortion and retention. We tend to distort or forget incoming information that contradicts our points of view.
So no matter what evidence he's presented with, that it's genetic, and inequality is genetic, he'll just ignore it. He'll find some way to neuter or neutralize that evidence. And it's tragic when you see that happening. It's tragic when you can put the evidence right in front of them and they still don't. They've got so much riding on it, on the opposite, that they just reject it. At least adults do this for their own reasons and selfish reasons. So you can you can sympathize to an extent. You can understand it. You can see the mechanism that's going on there. I mean, it's pretty irresponsible of them. It's kind of reprehensible in a way, especially when they consider themselves truth seekers. But nonetheless, you can understand what's going on, and you can kind of respect them for at least building and maintaining their identity. It's a completely different story with kids, though, and teenagers, early teenagers, because they've just been fed this stuff, which is clearly untrue. But they've been fed it systematically and consistently, non-stop at school and in the media that they watch. So when they parrot these beliefs, it's not of their own volition. It's not because they're trying to maintain their identity. It's literally because they believe it, which is amazing to me. Resulting dysfunction. It's just taken, I'm guessing, is just taken as a fact of life. Life is like this. You don't need to understand, really. What you're told doesn't need to marry up with what you see. Just accept it and keep believing. Because all they can do with this conflict is just assume, people higher up understand this, so I'll just go along with what they tell me.
I'm reminded of a time when I was younger and a friend of mine had this terrible girlfriend. He was infatuated with her and she was a cheater. And it was obvious to everyone except for him. But not because he had less information than we did, but for no other reason than he didn't want to believe it. When she was caught, which happened several times, my friend would believe any flimsy excuse she gave him. And sometimes he would make the excuses for her. It was maddening to watch, but it's basic psychology. Cognitive dissonance. And like my friend, if you're a human, you are not immune to cognitive dissonance. And the thing about cognitive dissonance, you literally have no idea you're experiencing it while you are experiencing it. When faced with a reality too painful, my friend began living in this alternate universe that was so crucial to his mental well-being, he would violently defend the comfortable fiction he had created, and he'd get furious with me and my friends who would point out that she was cheating and even say we were trying to break them up and that somehow we had some kind of evil plan to ruin his happiness. I'm guessing there's a lot of people out there that had a friend like this, or maybe you were that friend. As I said, it happens to all of us. If you think you're immune to this, it's likely you're currently a victim.
When you have a specific belief system, whether that belief system was given to you by the education system, by the media, by your family, or all the three, no matter how that belief system was ingrained into you, when you encounter information or a perspective or evidence contrary to that belief system that you're already ingrained into, that's what causes that disharmony up in your head, because you don't know which way to go. Your whole life, your being, essentially, is invested into this belief system that you thought was correct, right? So when you get this information that completely goes against the grain of everything that you thought you knew, and you get mad and you get upset and you start attacking the messenger, you start attacking the person instead of even the information, the evidence that they brought you. That's usually how cognitive dissonance surfaces.